a very warm heart that we welcome you to today's episode of Tax Matters. My name is Olumuyiwa Matuloko, and with me on today's episode is Chiamaka.
Hello, viewers.
On today's episode of Tax Matters, we are going to be talking VATs again. Yes, VATs, Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme. Why, you may ask? 6 months of the VATs grace period are gone. 3 more months to go. You remember, VATs is from July 1, 2017 to March 31, 2018. Because from January 1st, 2018, you will not be forgiving interest. You will be forgiving penalty, but you will still pay interest. Everyone is a winner with VATs. The government gains and you gain. You become a winner. The taxpayer becomes a winner. And the government is able to raise the much needed revenue for the good of all of us. Of course, it is common knowledge now that Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio stands at 6%, among the lowest in the world. Neighboring West African countries are in double digits, 25, 27. And this is of concern to the tax authorities. You are Director of Efficiency at the FIRS. How are we going to push it for that to at least double digits in the next few years? Do you have any plan at the top? I'm referring to the management towards making sure that we move away from that low level of tax to GDP ratio.
Actually, that has been one of the major concerns of management in FIRS. We're actually doing about 6% now. We had countries doing as high as 28, 30%, who are also Africans. Yes, one thing that we notice is that the parameters used comprises mainly of taxes from the federal. And we are looking towards a situation where the taxes from the various states will also be taken into consideration in arriving at it. However, even if that is done, it is obvious that the tax ratio to GDP in Nigeria is still very, very low. The efforts of this current management has been to ensure that we widen our tax net and bring more people into the net so that more and more tax revenue can be generated. As Nigerians get more acquainted and they know why they have to pay taxes and they are willing to comply, it is certain that we will be able to improve the rating which we have currently.
That is Coco. Everyone who earns income must be in the tax basket. Nigeria, now we own. And we dare say that that is what VATs is all about. Did you know that in the first 5 months of the operation of VATs, that is from July 1st, 2017 to date, the federal government has already raked in 17 billion naira?
Chairman, sir, my name is Muiwa. I produce Tax Matters. We are 5.5 months into the program. How far have we gone? How have individuals and corporate bodies responded? And do you have any figures as to what has come in already?
Tax Matters, 5.5 months, how far have we gone? We're having a lot of stakeholder meetings, a lot of questions being asked, but I know people like to hear numbers. In terms of collection on the corporate side, we've collected about 17 billion. Another organization just wrote in to say that they want to come under VATs and pay 6 billion.
There you are. That and many more will come your way on today's episode of Tax Matters, because the stories on today's episode are stories of 2 events on the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme, which took place on the same day in the middle of December 2017. And the executive chairman of the FIRS was at both events.
On Wednesday, that's talking about the 13th of December, another training workshop for professionals advising clients on participation in the Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme took place on the Lagos Island. The Executive Chairman FIRS, Mr. Babatunde Fowler, delivered the keynote address at the well-attended event.
I'm extremely delighted to be here today, and I also bring greetings from the Honorable Minister of Finance. But I'm more excited to be here because we see a coming together of all of us, both the taxpayers and the tax administrators, for a common good. For some of you who may not be too sure, I can assure you that we as tax administrators are also taxpayers. So we're all on the same side. We have not come together to make life more unbearable for you, but to make it more convenient, more transparent, and actually easier for you to handle your tax affairs. A few questions were being asked, and I'll also try and explain our thinking. The issue of an auditing process. When an audit is being conducted, sometimes tax administrators fall upon or find out certain things. And at that point in time, we cannot stop the audit and let you come through VADES, because you may decide not to still declare fully what the situation is. So once an audit has commenced, we will finish the audit. However, you can still have the benefits of not paying interest and not paying any penalty, and you can also come forward with the information that you do have. We will look at that information, and if we decide that that information contains some things that we already know, then we may stop the audit. It's time for us to come truthfully. Any taxpayer that refuses to pay tax on profit, or any taxpayer who refuses to pay on his income, is cheating us, cheating you and I. We cannot do it alone. There are a lot of roads that need to be fixed, yes. There are a lot of healthcare requirements for the youth, education. We constantly complain about the country, and I was one of those that used to complain about government before I found myself in government. But the truth of the matter is that regardless of the vision that government may have, without revenue, it remains a dream. We've also deployed technology, and in the by the first quarter of next year, hopefully we'll have small cubicles where you can walk into any FIRS office and file your returns online.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office. You can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt, and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience, and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC, or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government covers, so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
Essentially designed to equip tax consultants with a thorough understanding of the subject matter, 5 papers were presented at the event.
Professor Abiola Soni of the University of Lagos presented a paper on understanding VATs, the legal framework.
Tax amnesty or VAT is one of the strategies of promoting tax compliance in various countries. Because the whole idea is let's encourage people to come forward. Let's encourage people to come clean. Let's encourage people to do it themselves. For those who fail to take advantage of the opportunities, liability to pay in full, the principal sum due, liability to pay interest and penalties, then also liability to be prosecuted. Here, government will actually need to make scapegoat of some people, because we do not have history of having prosecuted, especially one high-profile person in Nigeria.
Senior Manager, Tax and Regulatory Services at Deloitte, Mr. Taiwo Okunade, spoke on automatic exchange of information, implications for Nigeria.
Mr. Chris Anidwe presented a paper on data mining, what the taxman now knows.
Mr. Ayo Salami took participants through practical guidelines for participating in VATs. After each paper presentation, questions were asked and answers were provided.
Mr. Taiwo Oyedele handled the frequently asked questions.
Why is the federal government implementing VATs now? Because we know that for a long time, we haven't been doing the right thing. A few of us have been paying our taxes, and I'm sure most of the people in this room, if not everyone, pay the right amount of tax. You can then imagine that there are millions of people out there who are not being fair to us. So therefore, we need to let people know that it's no longer business as usual, but we do not have the capacity, neither do we intend, to prosecute everybody. So the only way to address that is to give the window of opportunity for people to self-remediate, so that you reduce that population to a very tiny percentage of people you can tackle and treat as tax evaders should they fail to come forward voluntarily. Government has signed various agreements for them to exchange information. If you have a foreign bank account, I'm certain by now you would have received a letter from your bank abroad that says, we shall be giving your details to your government. Please sign that you are happy with this. In case you are not happy, please come and close your account. Because the bank has no choice. They have to release your information to your country without your permission. So you have to sign. So Nigeria has signed up, and that's what they call Common Reporting Standard. So you can't hide. VAT will come to an end 31st of March 2018, with effect from 1st of April, and this is not April Fool. From 1st of April 2018, there shall be no VAT anymore, which means anybody that we find that has not paid the right amount of tax, we have to face the consequences.
On the same day, at the other end of the city of Lagos, a media workshop also on VAT was held. In attendance were journalists from both the print and electronic media. The executive chairman, FIRS, was the special guest of honor.
Today is the day that we want to have a further discourse to make sure that we all are on the same page in terms of understanding what this whole program is about. Without going into too much detail about talking about the current need for revenue, tax revenue for the country, this is a step which I think, if we put our hearts and our minds to it, will change the financial profile of this country forever. So as members of the press, the media, you're the ones who I say, without not being truthful, can describe a cup as half full or half empty. But it's all a matter of perception. For some people, when you say it's half empty, there's an alarm. When you say it's half full, there's hope. So we hope that as we interact today, you send a message of hope to all your readers to let them understand that we need a change. We need a change for each of us to contribute to this, our commonwealth, to make Nigeria great again.
With that, the session took off in earnest. Mr. Albert Folorenshaw, a chartered accountant and chartered tax practitioner, who is a member of the Presidential Committee on VAT Implementation, presented the first paper on VAT, a tax amnesty program in action.
Why do we say it's an amnesty? The government has discovered that taxpayers have not been fully compliant, and some are not even complying at all. And they have ascertained the level of that compliance. And therefore they're saying that, see, before we begin to implement the provision of the law as it is, okay, we are giving a window of opportunity to taxpayers who have not been compliant or who have not been compliant at all to take opportunity to now regularize their tax status within a 9-month window, which started on 1st of July 2017 and is expected to last by 31st of March 2018.
Before the executive chairman took his leave, he clarified issues and answered probing questions from members of the press.
My first question goes to the presenter. He talked about declaring honestly and truthfully. Okay, the chairman could also address this since it falls under his purview. He talked about declaring honestly and truthfully, and I'm wondering what exactly is involved in all that process of declaring honestly. Who determines what is an honest declaration in the event that what he gives to you is not what it is supposed to be? Thank you.
Chairman, sir, my name is Muiwa. I produce Tax Matters. We are 5.5 months into the program. How far have we gone? How have individuals and corporate bodies responded? And do you have any figures as to what has come in already? Secondly, we've read about this before, and Mr. Folorenshaw mentioned it now. There's going to be something like a VAT clearance certificate at the end of the road. If I don't come under VAT, if I don't feel that I have any reason to come under VAT, Is there any problem with not having a VAT clearance certificate?
I just want to know when the last speaker said you could get a kind of installment, you could do an installmental payment through tax consultant or authority. In the event that I just don't want to engage the services of any consultant, and I want to do it, because when you are engaging the services of a consultant, you pay. So if I don't want to do that, because I'm trying to, maximize whatever thing that comes my way. So if I want to do it, how possible is it that I can get an installmental payment?
So you mentioned that the tax, the backlog can be paid over a period of 3 years. For a business that has been in existence for a long time, has not been paying taxes, and 2 years ago when the recession started, the business went down the drain, and the person is still struggling to bring this business back to life. In such a situation, how is the person, and the person doesn't even have the money to even pay the backlog, what would be the fate of such a person who wants to actually declare?
Thank you very much. I first of all start with daily trust, declaring honestly and truthfully. We believe that Nigerians are law-abiding, and we assume that when they declare, they'll be truthful. However, if we find out or believe that you have not been truthful, and I'll give you a little example. We look at what you call the expenditure profile. If you come and declare and you say over the last 6 years your total income has been 12 million naira, for example, not declared, and downstairs you got a new Range Rover, then it will bring into question how that came apart. So we like to believe, and we're sure that Nigerians will be truthful. Tax Matters, 5.5 months, how far have we gone? We're having a lot of stakeholder meetings, a lot of questions being asked, but I know people like to hear numbers. In terms of collection on the corporate side, we've collected about 17 billion. Another organization just wrote in to say that they want to come under VAT and pay 6 billion. Now, what has happened is that some of the corporations are under audit, and I think some of them might feel that the audit process may generate more income than what they want to declare. So in this particular situation, we will wait for the audit report to come in. The audit will be concluded. And if they still want to apply under VAT, we will waive their interest and penalty. However, if the audit report shows that they still are not declaring fully, they will not be able to come under the VAT program. In terms of the VAT certificate, if you're law-abiding and you paid your taxes up to date, you don't need a VAT certificate. You already have your tax clearance certificate, and that is all that is required. In terms of the instrumental payment, you don't, now my friends are consultants, my good prof, and one thing about this program is that the private and public sector got together with the House, with all the governors, and as a group, we've all agreed that we have to bring Nigeria back to life by chipping in through tax payment. So, without prejudice to the consultants, you can come to any state revenue agency, you can come to the FIRS, and we'll give you free advice. We'll help you with your documentation. We actually are setting up cubicles in all our stations with computers. So even if you want to be held by the hand, you can file online yourself. We'll make a space for you and also guide you through the process. That doesn't mean that you still can't engage consultants who might pay a person, but I guess they might just have to reduce their fees if they still want to be in the business of tax administration. In terms of the period of time to pay the 3 years, it has to be agreed with the taxing authority. And tax administrators are also sensitive. A business that is dead is of no value to a tax administrator. We're like doctors. Our aim is to keep the patient alive. Our objective is to keep the taxpayer still going. So if you have nearly filed bankruptcy, you've got a loan, and you're bringing that business back to life, we'll make sure that we take at least the current taxes, and give you enough time to pay the backlog. So I would like us to not have any fear that if you come forward, you'll be worse off. I assure you that our objective is not to kill any business. Our objective, like you said, we're not out to prosecute. We're just trying to bring everybody back up on the right footing for the love of country, for the love of the future generation, and for the love of doing the right thing. Thank you.
Other questions were directed at the first paper presenter.
What happens if after the 6-month window of opportunity, tax defaulters still refuse to do the right thing?
Like I said, it is an amnesty, and amnesty period is expected to help you redress the wrong that you have done, and then going forward, doing the right thing. So if after 9 months, like I said, it is a voluntary declaration. The tax authority is not pursuing any person now to come and to enforce declaration. But they are making noise about what they are doing in terms of the information they are gathering. They have the asset tracing team that are working from the Ministry of Finance. They have the data mining consultant that is collecting information about individuals and companies, such that after the 9-month period expires by 31st of March 2018, the tax authority will move after those who have not been compliant. And the minister even stated about 2 weeks ago that they have put together 500 letters of high net worth individuals that they have detailed information, and they are going to write them to say, see, we are encouraging you to what? To come under VATES, because we have detailed information about you, we know your lifestyle, and we have details of about your assets and your income, and that we are encouraging you to come under VATES, not forcing you. And after the expiration of the scheme, definitely the tax authority will move on and commence detailed audit and investigation on such taxpayer that failed to take the opportunity.
Thereafter, the session continued with Mr. Gabriel Ogujemilusi, Chartered Accountant and Chartered Tax Practitioner, who is a Deputy Director at the FRS, delivering a paper on tax amnesty, lessons from other crimes.
Tax amnesty is not new, not a new thing. Even in Nigeria, it's not new as such, but in other climes, it had been in existence for a number of years backward. But we are just key into it in Nigeria because of the situation we find ourselves. Countries that have done it, there are so many. I just decided to put some here to let us know that it's not peculiar to Nigeria. You can see them, Australia, Belgium, Germany, and so. So we are just going to concentrate on 3 of them, Turkey, South Africa, and Indonesia, to see what happened in those countries. Indonesia is acclaimed to be the best, the most successful tax amnesty program to date, because it gave them almost above $10 billion in terms of revenue. Turkey is another country that we will look at. Their reason was to, because of the economic recession, increase tax collection and the tax base. South Africa, our brother down there, they also have their own. They have to broaden compliance culture. No, the culture of South Africa is even still better than our own in terms of tax compliance. They have 2 types of voluntary disclosure in South Africa. They have the one they call special one, which is given for their citizens to bring up their offshore assets into the country too. And they have the one that is permanent. That's the voluntary disclosure program. It's from 1st October 2012. That's when they have an office, but it's administered in a different way from their normal tax administration.
My presentation basically will be on data. How do you know if somebody declared truthfully and honestly? As we know, if you want to know if people are being honest, you also have to have some information about them. And then you can compare what the declaration says with respect to what you have and know about the taxpayer. And what this seeks to do is to gather all the data, and it must interest everybody, every Nigerian, that the government already knows a whole lot. And what the government is trying to do is to give us time within the time frame of the amnesty program, that is up to March 31 next year, to come forward and declare honestly and truthfully.
We want to thank you most sincerely for finding time to watch today's episode of Tax Matters. We hope that we have reminded you that VATE is still on and that come January 1st, you still have 3 months. You have only lost interest forgiveness. Penalty will still be forgiven. Come out, declare voluntarily. It is your duty to your country. And we wish you a prosperous 2018. From Amaka.
Remember to drive safely.
And remember our fallen heroes. Have a blessed week ahead.